I'll mute.
All right, everyone, we are live. We should be live. Welcome to another Thursday Carnivore Mastermind. For some of us, it's Friday morning for one of our guests. So, depending on
Hello.
where you are in the world, welcome to another show. I'm excited to be here and to be sitting down with you all today. I've got a guest panel with me as usual, and we're going to be discussing the topic of the week, which is Ozempic, and talking about our thoughts on weight loss drugs, sort of the taking of the prescriptions or the medications versus doing a dietary switch. What do we think? Obviously, none of us are doctors. We're not giving medical advice. It's just our personal opinions. Um, and just sort of contrasting, what results you can get on carnivore or any version of the proper human diet versus some of the things that can then happen if you decide to take or someone decides to take one of these medications. I know this has sort of been a hot topic. I've seen a bunch of stuff come up about Ozempic and how it works, and I've heard watched several videos about different opinions, and so I thought we should talk about it and just kind of see what you all think. So I'm going to bring up the poll from this week, and that was essentially the question I asked: what do you think about drugs like Ozempic? I came across an article where the person was talking about their personal experience with taking this. And essentially, we can look through the article a little bit, but essentially, he was talking about how he realized he was confronted with the fact that he was an emotional eater, and that now that he had lost his appetite, essentially through the use of this drug, he was feeling depressed. He was feeling sort of, just bad, and because he was not able to use that anymore to deal with his emotions. And so, I think they sort of ended up framing the article in a good light, saying that this is a good thing, and I think you could argue that it is that you may discover that through taking a drug like this. But I hear a lot of people talk about this as they switch to a proper human diet or especially a carnivore diet. I know I went through this process myself of realizing, hey, I have to confront the fact that I use, food, alcohol, things like that to comfort myself, to access different emotions or to push down emotions that I don't want to feel. Right. And so I thought that article is kind of what triggered me to talk about this, because I think I thought that was very interesting that this person had that experience. And so that's what I asked you guys about in the context of that article as well. And so there were four choices. The first one, you think it's appropriate for some people, perhaps for the short term only. Second choice was appropriate for some people, even if it's long term. Third option is no one should take it ever, essentially because we don't know the long term safety data on this drug specifically. And then maybe none of these answers fit your opinion, so you could choose other. So we had 77% vote for the third option, which is that no one should take it ever because we don't know if it's really safe, what's really going to happen in the long term. Followed up by 16% with, yeah, it could be appropriate for some people short term. And then 4% said appropriate for some people if it's long term, and then 3% other. So we had a variety of comments, including one comment from Jennifer Satzman, who says that she's been on Mounjaro, which is, as I understand it, the exact same drug, or it's the same, it has the same generic name, but just a different brand name, for 2 years for diabetes. She says it definitely helps keep the blood sugar steady, even on the carnivore diet and low carb diets. It also reduces inflammation, and I feel much better on it. So far, thankfully, no bad side effects. And then, Sublime Bites is talking about how uh, you say your mom's a diabetic and was on it for 1.5 years. She has severe pancreatitis and just had a partial kidney resection for cancer. She's now off of the meds and has been for about 6 months, gaining the weight back, but we wanted her off the meds as she did not have any kidney issues until she started the medication. So obviously, we can't be sure if it was the medication that caused the kidney issues, but she's doing better now. So and then we had, several other opinions. Lioness 73 says, I've never been overweight, so I have no opinion on this, but I would hope someone who was thinking about taking a drug that could potentially harm them would find this way of eating and realize there's another way to be healthy. Darth Carnivore says, weight loss isn't a competitive sport, so I don't judge how other folks strive to become healthier in their own N equals 1, even though inwardly I wish folks would give 90 days of carnivore a solid try first, or maybe use it as a way to ramp off injectables like Ozempic. In all practicality, most folks on these injectables will be healthier than they would have been otherwise, especially if they were resistant to lifestyle changes to begin with, which is something we're going to talk about because even if we do choose something like Ozempic, it does sort of have to go hand in hand with some lifestyle change, at least in some form or fashion. So lots of different opinions. David R., just to kind of throw in another differing one, says, for anyone who says or thinks, why don't they just do carnivore or do another way of eating? Try to remember a time when you failed at something and wonder what you would have thought of the advice to just try harder. For many people, this drug is what allows them to get healthier in ways that they wouldn't have otherwise done, essentially. So do what works for you. And Cammie jumped into the comments today, who's here on the panel tonight, saying, if I didn't know personally how amazing and easy it is to lose weight with carnivore, I think I would have been fooled or could have been fooled by Ozempic too. So thanks everybody for throwing in your comments. And it was very interesting to get, the variety of responses this week. And that made me think a little bit as I was doing my studying up for this episode. And I actually didn't get done with everything that I wanted to research. So I'm glad I have all of you here to fill in the gaps too, because there's a lot, and there's a lot that can be said about this. So that being said, we'll kind of go around the panel tonight. We'll start with John and go then down to Cammie. And then if anybody has questions throughout, make sure to drop them in the chat and we will answer them as soon as everybody has the chance to speak. Okay,
so this is our thoughts on the topic, yes? Our introduction thoughts. Okay, so I have a list of side effects that I want to discuss first. And the side effects for Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, any GLP-1 agonist is constipation, nausea, dizziness, fatigue, diarrhea, allergic reaction, abdominal pain, bloating, burping, hypoglycemia, tachycardia, blurred vision, gallstones, headache, heartburn, thyroid cancer, pancreatosis, dysphagia, kidney damage, loss of appetite, lump, reduced urination. And I've heard of others too, like gastric, the gastric slows down, the emptying, it almost stops working. I've also heard that this can be used to help some people who are morbidly obese and can't do it any other way to get started, but there should always be an exit point, an end point where they get off of it. And pair it, like you discussed, pair it with a diet plan. You need to change your way of eating. So I think it can be used, just like all medicines. All medicines have side effects. This medicine can be used to do something as long as it has an end point, an exit point. And I don't think anybody should use it just to lose weight. I think a lot of people who have severe obesity paired with a lot of other weight-related diseases like type 2 diabetes, it can be an option that's temporary. So that's my opinion about these drugs. I do know that Ozempic is the original one, and some of the other ones were made. Ozempic was made for type 2 diabetics, and Wegovy and Mounjaro are like more potent, and it's for people who just want to lose weight. Like some of them are, so they have higher amounts of the drug in there, the GLP-1. So I certainly don't know all about this, but every doctor I watch on YouTube, every person I highly respect, they're like, we don't know all the future potential long-term side effects. And you're basically a guinea pig when you try this. So you know, comments all over the board, kind of scares me in a way, you know. So that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. Thank you. Cami?
Okay.
Thanks, John. That was sobering.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, so you just talked about all of the the worst case scenario, and I want to talk about the best case scenario, because I watched a video by Jillian Michaels, and she was on what was the name of that show? The Biggest Loser. She was on that, and so this was an interview, a podcast with Jillian Michaels with Sage Steele. So you can go find this podcast on the Sage Steele podcast. And this was on Adrienne Gledhill's Instagram. And she was a contestant on Biggest Loser and is now a carnivore advocate. So Jillian went through in the best case scenario, which applies to about 50% of the people. So 50% of the people who take Ozempic are going to get this really wonderful result that we're going to talk about. You have none of the bad side effects, and you lose weight. And because of the weight loss, you get an improvement in your A1C. So, you know, all of those are really good. That's really great. But then you're going to hit a plateau. And this is in the studies, the results, that it happens every single time. Your body gets used to the GLP-1. It's a hormone that you're being given, what is it, exogenously. So when our bodies get outside hormones, testosterone, melatonin, like any of the hormones that we supplement outside of the body, causes our super efficient bodies to say, I'm not going to make that anymore. So we stop making the GLP-1. And because we have this outside hormone that doesn't work like the ones we make exactly, our body stops being sensitive to it. So the GLP-1 is what makes you feel full. So you now have to continue to take these shots because your body's not making it anymore. So you've hit this plateau and you're like, oh, well, maybe I'll just get off of this drug. So if you get off of this drug, you will gain all of your weight back. And these are the reasons why. They have done scans of people when they get off of this drug. There is they say it's an alarming rate of muscle loss. Something about this drug causes muscle loss and bone density loss. So you're losing weight, but you are losing your health. You are losing your muscles. You're losing your bones. It lowers your metabolic set point. So maybe you used to burn 1,500 calories a day. Now you're burning 1,200 or something like that. Like it resets your metabolic set point rate. So you're just not operating. You're not burning as much. And you've been kind of starving your body, you know, not eating a ton. So all of a sudden you're off the drug. You have less muscle. Muscle burns fat, or muscle, you know, uses up your calories. You have less bone density. You're not burning as many calories, and you're hungry. And you do not make GLP-1, which tells you you're full. So you are going to be starving, and your body's not at the same position it was when you were overweight before you started the drug. You're in a really bad position, even in the best case scenario. So you can never stop taking this drug. So my opinion is, instead of spending $10,000 a month on this shot, or however much it is, I thought it was a lot. John just made a face, so I'm not sure if it's 10,000, but I thought it was a lot. Spend that money on a real nutritional consultant, like Nutrition with Judy. Like it's consult with her every day of your life. It's not going to cost you that much money to do that. Maybe carnivore is going to be really hard and really difficult for you. And I'm sorry if it is, if you don't find it as easy as I found it, but I feel like your money and your effort would be so much better invested in trying it for a year than in doing this drug at all. So that's what I found out.
The cost of a 30-day supply of Ozempic without insurance is $935.77, according to the internet. The amount you pay will depend on your insurance coverage, the pharmacy you use, and any Ozempic coupons you may be eligible for. So, But you know, even if you don't pay for it out of your own pocket, that's still how much it costs. You know, like it's costing the system that much. So anyway, Rod, your turn.
Okay, so this is just my subjective experience, because I've got a friend who's been taking Ozempic for probably about a year, and she's definitely lost a lot of weight, but boy, she does not look healthy. Like she is her pallor and her skin, and you know, I'm the last person who's going to say you should stop doing that, but it's just one thing I've noticed just as a friend whose health just doesn't appear to be better. Sure, she's lost weight, and I think maybe there's some parts of her health that have improved as a result of that, but it just worries me that there's something going on that makes this appear to be so unhealthy. So my chief concern with, well, I've kind of got two angles on this. So one is, I think for some people, it's really hard to stick to cleaning up your diet. They're trapped in this cycle of eating a lot of processed food, and they've gained a lot of weight, and they're at a point where they just don't have the mental bandwidth to be able to make the sort of change, like say switching to a carnivore diet or some sort of elimination diet. And it may give them a leg up to actually get started. So I think there's that. Part of me feels like Big Pharma has hit an absolute gold mine here, and they've proven over and over again, pharmaceutical companies are not interested in your health. They're interested in their bottom line. And that may sound a little bit conspiratorial, but the evidence is there. So I think that you've just got to take that into mind. If you take any sort of medication, especially one like this that doesn't have any long-term studies, that, well, consider the source, and is it something that you really want to take that risk on? And is there another way? Is there something else that you could do? Could you make some adjustments to your lifestyle that might help you as well? So I guess that I think in some circumstances it's the only way that someone is going to get started. And if somebody gets started like making changes to their lifestyle and getting a few runs on the board by taking Ozempic, then I think that's a good thing. But I think as a long-term strategy, you got to, like John was saying, you got to have an exit. I think, Cami, did you say you got to have an exit point? I wouldn't consider it to be a long-term thing. And it seems obvious that once you come off that, you know, you're going to start gaining back the weight, because you know there's changes to your lifestyle and to what you're eating. Those things have to change. If you don't change any of those and you just start taking medication, the other thing I'm concerned about is people just aren't getting sufficient nutrition. And I think that it makes me wonder, like, if people losing bone density and muscle loss, is that because they've still got a crappy diet, but they're just eating less food, so now they're even getting even less nutrition than what they were getting before? And you know, if you're not ingesting enough protein, if you're not ingesting enough minerals, etc., then I think the response from your body is, well, it's got to start using its own resources to actually keep you alive. So yeah, every part of me goes, it's not a great idea for me personally. And I think if I ever you know, feel like I need to drop some body fat or lose some weight, then I just think, well, I know that tightening up my diet and switching, like just removing anything that's processed, anything at all, that's a reliable and it's a healthy way to actually make that change. And I'm just really concerned for people's long-term health and going down that road. So it's not one that I would consider lightly at all. That's all I've got to say.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks everyone. That was a lot of what I had come across too. And I think is so important to consider the side effects, and also what the best case scenario could possibly be. But then, like Cami, you brought up, you're sort of stuck. And that was one of my main concerns is if people potentially wanted to use this in the short term, do we know how to come off of it? It's just like almost any other medication. And then I started thinking about all of the other things that bother me or that concern me about really any drug that, you know, is kind of blowing up. It's like, as far as media goes, and like, oh, it's the next miracle cure for this or whatever. we just never know. Like, okay, say there's 40 studies on this drug in particular saying it works, right? Quote unquote works for weight loss, it works for whatever. How many studies were file drawered? How many studies were just never published? How many studies that showed a harm or a hurt or an overwhelming abundance of negative side effects were just never submitted to journals? How many journals just said, oh, well, we're not going to publish this, right? Who put the money into all of this research? That's always my first question, because again, what we see as the public, everyday people is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what research may or may not have actually taken place. And there's a book I'm reading right now, which is talking about this whole idea of ghostwriting studies, where they will actually have people who did not actually participate in research at all write up a paper, and then their name will not be listed on the authorship. So you don't even know where some of this information actually comes from and if it even actually took place. We are in the era of everything's digital, right? And we can't necessarily even trace this stuff back to real events. And so I'll take off my tinfoil hat and put it back in the closet. But, that's where my mind always goes, is anytime something seems too good to be true, it's probably because it is. And it's probably because we're only getting that tip of the iceberg of the information that's really true or really available. So that's my number one concern, is that people aren't getting the full story. And then here again, we are the experiment, right? We're going to find out in 10, 20, 30 years what the results of this are. Is this drug going to be recalled like so many of the other ones that we see on TV commercials now, where it's if you were harmed by such and such drug, here's the class action lawsuit you can sign up to be a part of. And so it just seems like another, just my gut reaction is just seems like another one of those type of things, right? And I also saw an article saying that this has now been approved for children who are obese up to, down to 12 years old, which is insanity to me. I mean, we don't even know for sure what's going to happen to grown adults from taking this. Now put your 14-year-old son or 14-year-old daughter on this essentially for however long, and that's okay. I think that's appalling in my opinion. And so that's kind of where my mind goes first, is I know we're not getting all the information. And so this is completely a risk, and everything in terms of what good is put out there is always put out there in terms of relative risk, right? And so we don't know the absolute numbers in many cases, unless you can go back and find it in the material. But there again, it's sort of that deceptive way of portraying benefit that makes it sound like, oh, 51% of people got better or 51% of people lost weight. It's maybe it was actually 2 out of 5,000 or so, some tiny fraction of an absolute number. But when you put it in terms of relative risk, it looks bigger and sounds bigger. And so, that's just, those are my main concerns, is we're probably not being told the whole story. And that's where I think it's easy for both the reps who are going in and selling this to the healthcare professionals who are busy and don't have the time to keep up and learn, or don't have the initiative to do so. Go, okay, yeah, I'll prescribe this. Okay, I'll get, FDA approved it for 16-year-old. I'll give that to, they must know, right, that it's okay and safe to do so. But we all know, from most of us having an experience going through the standard of care, that a lot of the things don't work, and they're not safe and effective, and they're not necessarily beneficial in terms of the risk to benefit ratio. And so it's an experiment, and that's what I would caution people to think about, and think about the fact that this one article brought it up. I think I have it on my share here. I thought it was a pretty good article. And it's from, let's see, Hunter Medical Research Institute. And it just kind of goes through, some of these basic questions. How does it work? And talks about, the fact that literally macronutrients, foods that we eat, simple sugars, peptides, and amino acids from protein, and short chain fatty acids from eating fat also trigger the GLP-1 peptide, or that secrete it. So, I think that's probably why a lot of us, when we switch to carnivore or a diet close to that, we get that satiety, right? Because that's the natural physiological response to getting the proper nutrition. And so to anybody that would say, how would I feel, like the one person who commented about thinking about a time when, I failed at something and somebody said, oh, well, just try harder. Like, I totally understand that, but it's like, did they try carnivore though? Because if they hadn't yet, then they may not, like, it's almost like a miracle how you get this sense of satiety and you don't have cravings after you kind of push through that first month or so. And so I think that it's such a better option to at least give, a ketovore or carnivore diet a try before you opt in for this. And yes, try harder and try this first and really give it 90 days and give it a good shot, because it's your life. It's your long-term health, and you deserve to have, good health and to not be dependent on these drugs, and to not be dependent on, being potentially stuck on this, whether you want to be or not, for the rest of your life. And so that's what I would encourage people to do who are on the fence about it, is to say, let me give everything a shot and give it a real shot before I opt in for something like this, where we don't know for sure the long-term outcomes. We are the experiment when it comes to this, and our body will do this naturally if we remove the crap and give it the proper nutrition, because that is how our body is supposed to function. We're supposed to get full when we've had enough real functioning nutrition that our body needs to do the processes and create everything that we need. And I'm almost done, and then we'll welcome Brett into the show. But that's really essentially the main thing that I would say is give the diet a try. There was one other thing that was in this article that I thought was good. But anyway, while I think of it, we will welcome Brett in here. So what are your thoughts about Ozempic? What do you think about weight loss drugs versus dietary intervention?
Hey, everybody. Sorry I was late. I was late getting home from work. But, yeah, I think these drugs like Ozempic, I don't see how really they got approval to be used. What that stuff does to your body, and the cost. I was in a chat earlier with Carrie with Homestead How, and someone had wrote in to him and said that they tried Ozempic before carnivore. They spent $10,000 on Ozempic and they lost 30 pounds. $10,000 for 30 pounds. That's insanity. I don't know what it costs a month. I think it's more than $1,000 a month. But for what that does to your body and the little benefit that you might get from it, yeah. And we don't even know what the long-term effects of Ozempic are going to be. It's messing up people's digestive system permanently. I don't think it's not doing that to everyone, but I think there's probably going to end up being some lawsuits, I think.
I think it's worth remembering how Ozempic and the other GLP-1 drugs came about, because they're a treatment for type 2 diabetes. And if you have type 2 diabetes, you're on the road to, lots of serious health issues, and it was to treat those people, and now it's like segued into a drug for weight loss. And obviously, having had the FDA approval, you can see how the pharmaceutical companies are going, well, this is just amazing because we've already got approval. And I don't think they had to get approval as a weight loss drug. That was it. It was already approved. And so it's now available to the general public. So it's worth remembering how it started and what it was actually for before we go, okay, this is like a miracle.
And I think this is where getting the message out that type 2 diabetes is a highly curable condition. I think that'll help, at least maybe help people think twice before going on a drug, and maybe trying something as simple as a diet change before they take something that could affect them long term.
I just had lunch with a dear friend who is a type 1 diabetic, and she was telling me about her father, who was a type 2 diabetic, and some of our friends are type 2s. And we had a little discussion. She's not a carnivore, but she knows I am. She doesn't quite understand it because she knew I was keto, and she wants to know what's the difference. So it's hard to fill her in on all the information because you can't, throw it all up on one person in one lunch. But she believed that type 2 diabetics is like type 1, that it's inherited and there's nothing you can do about it. And you have to follow the ADA's advice, get a continuous glucose monitor if you have to, and make sure you take your insulin. And I said to her, type 2 diabetes is not, it is not genetic like type 1 is. You can go into remission for the rest of your life by diet. And she shook her head and said, no, you can't. Like that. If she thinks that, a lot of people must believe just the word diabetes. There's a lot of education that needs to be done out in the public. And if they only knew that all you have to do is change your way of eating and cut out all the carbs and sugar, your body will bounce back. Your A1C will come down. Your hormone levels will go back to normal. If you're a type 2, you go into remission. It happens for everybody who is a type 2 diabetic. It takes time. Some people, it takes maybe up to a year to lower their A1C to normal levels, but everybody can do it if they're type 2. And you were talking, Brett, about the person paying $10,000 to lose 40 pounds or whatever. And as soon as you said that, I thought, well, if you go on a ketovore or carnivore way of eating and you lose 40 pounds, how much money are you saving, actually? Like, it's the exact opposite. You're losing the weight and you're actually gaining money because you're spending less money at the grocery store and you're feeling better. And so going back to the education, I really do believe it's an education curve with the public. There's a lot of misinformation and myths, a lot of myths that need to still be broken out there. We know the information. We kind of understand it because we're in this space. But there's a lot of people in the general world. This is a person who's a type 1 and she thinks type 2 is also genetic. Nothing you can do about it. I feel so bad for people who don't have the right information.
I feel like a lot of this is also about trust. And I just no longer trust. I don't trust the people who make the studies, who make the drugs, who write the prescriptions. I don't trust the agencies that approve these kinds of drugs, because there are drugs that are approved for use in people, but they won't let them be used to treat cancer. But this drug suddenly, oh, well, it's approved for humans, so we can use it however you want. Go ahead. You just go ahead and do that. What's going on here? Because one drug will cure you and you won't need it anymore. You won't need the industry anymore. And another drug will keep you on it for the rest of your life. I just don't trust any of those guys at all.
I agree with you. I think it's hard to trust them when you know the greed factor is in there. They don't want you cured. They want you cured just enough so that you keep coming back for more. You guys have seen the commercials on TV. If you watch any television, at least in the United States, it's barraging us. A lot of the medication commercials are Ozempic. With the song, they hijack the songs that we all knew and loved from the 70s and the 80s, and they reword it. And people, it's catchy, and people are trying it. I guess insurance is paying for it. Does anybody know that information? Are insurances paying for a large percentage of this $900 a month?
As far as I know, they are not.
They're
It's
not?
not covered by insurance.
Or is it only covered if you have type 2 diabetes and not for weight loss or something like that?
That I couldn't say. But the person I was talking about who spent $10,000 to lose 30 pounds, it was not covered by their insurance.
Wow.
But taking the diabetic medication like metformin and those drugs was.
They were, right.
Because it's cheap. But last night, I was on with John. We were talking about the expense, ways to save money. How much meat could you buy for $10,000?
Right.
You could feed yourself for a long time.
So I just got on to search. I typed in does insurance, and I got to the C for cover. And guess what came up as the most? Does insurance cover Ozempic? I'm not the only one who thought to look for that. That is the #1 search, so that's what popped up.
What did you read any further? What did it say?
It just says it depends on your insurance coverage. It's going to depend.
Yeah.
Wow.
It seems like it depends on what it's prescribed for.
Yeah, I'm seeing that in this article that it's not, that Ozempic is not actually approved. What is it? What is the actual verbatim that it says? Ozempic is not approved for weight loss. However, semaglutide, which is what is the generic name, is approved for weight loss under the name Wegovy. Ozempic has a smaller dose of semaglutide than Wegovy. I think that's what you were talking about, John, how they're essentially the same thing, but they're just different amounts.
Yes, they reformulated it for weight loss, and then maybe insurance would cover it differently. I don't know. Mounjaro is another one, and then there's another name. I forget what that one is. And they're actually more potent. So they're stronger than Ozempic because they're for weight loss. I heard, I forget which doctor, one of the doctors was talking about it that I listened to. And it's so scary. It's like Cammie said, I would not trust it, or because they don't have my best interest at heart. They just want my money.
Right.
I've heard of Ozempic face. I don't know if you've heard of that, where the face gets all bloated, and then there's muscle wasting. They weren't even in the side effects that I listed at the beginning of the show.
And I wanted to correct what I said earlier, because it's actually Wegovy that was, scrolling back up here, approved for people under 20, so kids, not Ozempic. But it says the weekly injection, Wegovy, share this tab instead. Okay. Won approval from the Food and Drug Administration on December 23rd for obese Americans under 20. Experts hailed it as a revolutionary change in obesity treatment and a welcome addition to their field. But more skeptical doctors warn that children could be rushed onto a medication with a price tag of more than $1,300 per month, as well as a host of side effects like we've discussed. So, yeah, it's not Ozempic technically, but it says children aged 12 through 19 who took the weekly injections lost an average of almost 15% of their body weight, about 34 pounds. In comparison, those who got placebo and nutrition and physical activity counseling gained 5 pounds. That's fascinating. Studies have shown that while Wegovy is highly effective at helping people shed pounds, users pile it back on just months after coming off the drug, and at most will need to keep taking it forever to maintain their results. And that's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah. And it actually says that in what you just had pulled up, that they don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. It said that on the...
Right, which is terrifying when you're talking about giving it to kids, like especially.
Well, and that's their out. They're like, well, you knew we didn't know, and you took it anyway, so sorry.
They are very good. They're very good at making everything sound wonderful and happy with music and everything. And then you've got that part of the commercial with that long list of side effects that they, of course, by law, to cover their ass, of course, they have to do that. They have to say that so that they can't get sued. And they're going to get sued because they're going to have, like you just said at the beginning, Nia, then the lawsuit companies, you're going to see the commercials. Have you been affected by Ozempic, Mounjaro, or Wegovy? Please call this number. We will represent you. It's going to happen at any moment. It just will. Look at all the drugs that it's happened to already. Scary stuff.
I just did a quick little calculation. I just saw on here Ozempic without insurance is $935.77 per month. Now, if you're an overweight 15-year-old and you go on it, and you're on it from 15 to 85, so your whole life, 70 years. Any guesses at how much that is a month for 70 years? 7 million.
7 million.
So it's a Rolls Royce for the president of whatever company. That's what it is.
$7.86 million.
And the companies have figured that out. That's why they're doing this. They know they're going to get, and they're getting millions of dollars now.
But it's way more than that. If you had invested $900 a month in the stock market or anywhere, you would be the millionaire, not them.
Exactly. And honestly, I hate to be that way. I hate to think like that, but that's how it is, and like, if that's like, that is always my gut reaction to things like this. And then I try to like pedal myself back and be like, no, they probably do care about people, blah, 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 and it's like, no, they really don't. And that's what blows my mind. That's what just, blows my mind about all of this. It's like, I remember those commercials from when I was a kid, just like watching. And before I feel like back then they even like talked a little bit slower when they said the side effects and stuff like that. But it's like, all right, how many more of these things, these too good to be true, magic pills, magic shots, all this stuff, are we going to have to go through before we wake up and realize, like you're saying, we can't trust people that legitimately don't care whether any of us live or die, or how much we suffer. Like, it's not even, like, there's no decision, in my opinion. And I hate to be like that, because I do think, okay, the exception could be somebody who understands, like, everything we've just said. Here are the side effects. You're going to be on it for the rest of your life. You essentially can't come off it. You're going to have to pay for it, or you're going to have to, stick with whatever insurance company is going to pay for it, whatever. Even if, and like, I think John, you brought up, or one of you brought up about getting adequate nutrition on here. Because if you get on this and you start feeling full, fake full all the time, and you stop eating, but when you do eat, you eat Oreos and drink Diet Mountain Dew and, all this French fries cooked in seed oil and all this stuff, even if you lose weight, you're still going to be poisoning yourself, and that will lead to a host of other problems. And so, like, if you're somebody who knows all of that and is okay with that and just wants to try to lose 50 pounds to, for whatever, then fine. I think adults are adults, and you should be able to make your own choice. But like we've been talking about, I don't think people really understand all of this and don't take the time to look into it because of the way we market things, and because we're only one of 2 countries on the entire planet Earth that allows pharmaceutical companies to advertise on major news networks and advertise on major news,
what's the other
or
country?
TV stations and things like that. New Zealand.
Oh,
United
really?
States and New Zealand are the only 2 countries that whose governments allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise like that. And so we know, here again, the connection, right? All the major news people, like, they're sponsored by these companies, And so it's not even just about our health and how many people make money off of this weight loss drug. It's like that whole thing is influencing all the other stuff we hear about. you know? And so anytime you follow the money on something like that and you start to see all of this stuff is connected, it just makes me not want to support it, period. Like, you know, like even if I thought, oh, maybe that would be helpful for me in the short term to get to this, you know, it's like, no, screw all of you, you know, I'll do it myself and I'll do it better and for less. And then, you know, take that, you know, like it just like puts a fire under my butt to be like, no, I'm going to be as independent as I possibly freaking can because I don't trust any of you.
Yeah. So Nia, you're apologizing over there for your tinfoil hat while I'm making tinfoil clothing. I'm making dresses and shirts and pants and like all over tinfoil. But okay. I wanted to talk for a second. I wanted to talk for a second about, I don't know, this idea of skipping the hard work. Like winning the lottery. People who win the lottery, they end up losing all that money because they have not built in the habits of how to earn money, how to save money, how to turn it into profit, how not to spend it. If you want to learn to play the piano, there's nothing that will get you to that point other than doing it every single day. And the same thing with regaining your health. We have slowly lost our health through all this lies and misinformation and bad choices that we've made. But the regaining of the health has to come the same way. We have to be patient and we have to work hard. All life is designed to be hard work because hard work is good for us. It's really good for us to try and work hard on things. And if you just skip that part, I think you're cheating yourself. And maybe before I wouldn't have said that because I didn't know how to get these results and it just seemed too hard. But now I know. And so now I want to share and now I'm excited and I have no fear of telling somebody, you can leave that crap alone because there is an answer over here that will help you. Come to this side. Come join me.
We have cookies. Come over here.
Yes.
No, I totally agree with you. A point that I made at the very beginning, I want to elaborate on. I agree with you 1000%, Cami. For people who are 400, 500 pounds overweight, morbidly obese, the people who can't get out of the house anymore, and there are a lot of people like that. They did it to themselves, yes. They don't have the education or the knowledge that we're talking about. They feel like they've tried everything. They can't break that habit of whatever is making them that way. They have type 2 diabetes. They have so many other issues with their body. Taking Ozempic to start to curb their appetite with an education program and an exit point to get off of Ozempic and then let your diet take over, it could be used that way. But of course they won't make any money if it's only, you know, advertised that way. But I think it can be a benefit for people who are ready to die from morbid obesity. They're almost there. This could save their life and turn them down. But they've got to go into a program and a plan and agree to start eating correctly. And otherwise you don't get the medicine. So it can be like a starting for somebody with all the side effects and everything, you know, but of course, what we're talking about is people who are 30 pounds overweight and want to lose weight. They go to the doctor and they get Wegovy. I mean, whew, big, bad mistake there. What are you guys' thoughts on, you know, 400, 500, 600 pound people using this as a starter with a plan and education just to get them off the deathbed and rolling in the right direction, and then you take them off of it?
Limitless Lindy is in the comments. Let's ask her.
All right, Limitless Lindy.
Yep, I popped her comment up earlier. Yeah, lost 500 pounds on a carnivore diet and saved enough money for a deposit for a brand new car from all the savings of not eating processed food or carbs.
Thank you.
So, but I mean, I agree with you, John. I think that,
wow.
And that's what I was sort of alluding to when I put my tinfoil hat back on, was that, you know, I think there again, like if you are in a position where, yeah, you're struggling extremely hard and you are, yeah, morbidly obese, like this could be fatal within a year, you know, or something like that, where you're on a time frame and this is severe, then yeah, I think medications can be helpful. But like you said, it has to come with the knowledge that, hey, this isn't a forever thing. This is like a Band-Aid to kind of help get things going. And then, but the lifestyle has to change in order to maintain that and to be healthy moving forward.
Yeah, I think you've got to go eyes wide open. Don't you? You've really got to understand what all the risks are. And then you've also got to be at a point where you can be honest about what you've been doing. You know, what's actually got you to this particular point of view. Is your mental state, do you need, do you need help with that? I think a lot of people get into a state where they're just stuck where they are and they just want to die and they're just waiting for that to occur. There has to be some sort of movement, and I think if you've done that, okay, I understand what all the risks are and I understand how I got to this point, I'm getting some help with that. I think if you're doing all those things, I think a lot of people would go, okay, well, I'm good. I'm just going to change my diet and do that. But maybe there's some that just need that little bit extra. But my concern is that they're really preying on vulnerable people here who are, because of what they're eating, they're always consistently in a brain fog. They've effectively dropped their IQ by 50 points and they just can't think. They just can't get themselves out from under that cloud. And they're the people who are being, preyed on. And that really worries me. So I think you've really got to go in with your eyes wide open as much as you can and get to the point where at least you can think clearly.
Yeah, I always thought the point of medication was to get off of it, to help you through something, and then you don't need it anymore because you healed from it, and it helped you achieve that. But unfortunately, with drugs like this, where they're putting it on you for life, that genie's kind of already out of the bottle. But if somebody wanted to come up with a drug like this to use for people in desperate situations, and the drug was marketed that way, and doctors were told to only use it that way, sure, I'd be okay with somebody trying something to save their life, where they haven't been able to do anything else. But, to put a drug like this out on the market, that anybody, even children can be put on is, it's not good.
Yeah. And I think oh, go ahead.
But, that's where we come in. We're all getting that, trying to get a message out. We're not selling drugs. We're just pushing a lifestyle, something to try, something that has helped us that might help you too. And hopefully someone who's overweight and is considering Ozempic hears our message first. And that's a win for us and for them.
Right. I agree. And I wanted to share this as well. This doesn't help when we have people who have a ton of influence, who again are sort of in this category of like, we got 10 pounds to lose, or we got 30 pounds to lose, and maybe some of these people, it's like they've already done all these weird, trendy diets or whatever like that. Right. And they've got a lot of influence, and, people trust them. And then you have people, going, and saying, okay, well, these people did it. And so that means it'll work for me and it must be fine. And I don't know, I haven't read this one yet. So maybe some people are talking out or, speaking out against it. We'll see here. But, that's something that I don't think we can ignore either, is a lot of these things get spread when, you see somebody that like and trust as a celebrity or somebody else, and then you think, oh, well, it must be safe, right? Because my favorite singer is using it, or my favorite actor is using it, and Yeah, Kelly Clarkson saying she did not reveal the drug that she was taking when she talked to Whoopi Goldberg about it, but explained that the medication is something that aids in helping breaking down the sugar as her body doesn't do it right. Well, and this is kind of what we're saying. It's like, well, we don't need to eat the sugar, period. The body will handle its own sugar just fine. It will create sugar if it needs sugar. We don't have to eat it.
That's one of the myths, though, is
the
that a lot of people think that we have to have carbs, that you can't survive without carbs. I hear that constantly. So they believe it. And I really think education with the proper information needs to get out there more. The general public is very misinformed about nutrition.
Right.
Also,
I completely agree.
Our message isn't as sexy as their message, right? Their message is take this drug, you will lose weight, everything will be wonderful. And ours is, guys, it's going to take some time and patience and discipline and restraint and being different from everybody that you know and love. We're not as tempting.
Yeah, when you can sell a drug and say you can keep eating everything you've always eaten. But I think one of the long-term effects we're going to see with people on Ozempic is going to be non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Because even though they may not be overweight, their endocrine system is being, still inundated with all of that sugar and carbs and processing. And, they can still get, the fat around their organs, and non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome. And they're going to need another pill to fix that. So,
and they'll have another pill for that, and then they'll have another pill for that other pill, because it's all about that for them. It's the industry. They're making so much money selling drugs. It's really frustrating. That's why we're all on here, and that's why we all have YouTube channels, because we're trying to get the correct message out. What is the proper human diet, and what can it do for you? And it can do everything GLP-1 can do for you, because you're giving it to yourself, and it's healthy and everything's stable. But they don't have that message. How can we get that message out? Well, Carrie's video is going to help with that. We get the worldwide message out with this Healing Humanity video. We just need more messages about the correct information to compete with the magic pills. Because it is tempting to just say, oh, I could just take a pill. I could be like Oprah and lose weight.
I think it'd be great if someone, with enough influence and backing could start a television commercials for Carnivore. No, we won't be able to really sell anything, but just putting the idea out there.
Yeah, public service announcements like Smokey the Bear, right?
We need like PSAs and get them out in front of people. Street billboards on the highway.
Crowdfunded or something. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I read a comment on somebody's channel, and in the comment it said, yeah, I bet this guy's taking money from Big Beef. Like the beef industry is giving us money. I'm like, do they do that? Can they call me?
Where's my money?
Yeah, I'll take the sponsorship. I even heard Sean Baker talking about this. I mean, probably a year back, where he was saying like he's been trying to get funding from like the American beef people or whatever to like do some research, right? And be like, we would be open about it. It's like, yep, it was funded by Big Beef, but we just want somebody to care enough to like, do a study, because nobody wants to actually see any research on this. I think was it you, Darth Carnivore? Somebody brought up in the very beginning about like, let's put a study out there, Carnivore versus Ozempic, and we'll compare the two population. Take people that are the same, same BMI or same, have similar health conditions, and 6 months, see what happens. But people don't want that. They don't want to pay for that. They don't want to fund that, because they know what the truth is. And that's what we're all talking about. And so it's like, it's up to us. It's up to us to choose, like Cami, you were saying, choose the hard thing. Why? Because you'll get the reward from that, you know, and the reward from doing something difficult and having a positive outcome is like literally the juice of life. You know what I mean? And then spreading that information and helping somebody else do the same thing and supporting someone else and coaching them through it and be like, no, you can do this. I believe in you, you know, and like passing this on. That literally, that's what's going to change the world. That's what's going to really change people. And when you go through that process on your own, you know, where you lose the weight by doing diet and lifestyle modification, and you go through the struggles and you slip up and you get back on the horse and you continue no matter what happens and you get the result, it's like, you know how much more confidence you have. They talk about sort of these factors to obesity and, you know, things like low self-esteem and low self-worth and all these things that contribute to people getting into that position in the first place. And it's like, you can reverse all that crap too. You know what I mean? You'll actually believe in yourself and have confidence again because you went through that and you did something difficult and you conquered something that was controlling you. And that's why I love this so much, is because you don't just get the weight loss. You don't just get even like the mental health benefits and, you know, give up your addiction and stuff like that, but it actually increases your confidence as a competent human being. And it teaches you that you can do other difficult things. And it's inspiring to watch who people turn into when they do that, you know? And so that's why I would say again, like, go for the hard thing because it's worth it. You know, it's worth it to go to bed at night when you're alone and be like, I'm proud of me. You know, I'm proud of myself, me personally, for beating alcohol. You know what I mean? And sometimes I have to remind myself of that. It's like, I never thought I would be able to do that long term, you know, and not be like thinking about it all the time and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, you just gotta, you know, you can do it. And so that's all I have to say.
That's
like a great commercial.
Every once in a while I see myself in the mirror and I'm like, look at me. I am doing this. I'm so proud of me. Yeah. It's awesome.
That's beautiful. It's so true. It's so true. I have confidence today that I never had before in myself. And my moods are so stable now, where I had a lot of depression, you know, the whole list of things I told you in that interview, Nia. I mean, it's not just weight loss. People also only think it's for weight loss, eating properly and proper lifestyle. You are rewarded with life, with such a full life in so many different ways when you nourish your body. It's, you can't stop smiling.
Great to hear.
That's something we can say that the people at AstraZeneca can't, is, you know, our way will not only help with type 2 diabetes, but it'll help with high blood pressure, PCOS, anxiety, you know, all these different things. I mean, and we keep finding out more things as we go on. Like Carnivore Scott was just on here, and he reversed a liver condition.
Wow.
That they told him was irreversible. He's talked about that on his channel. So, you know, it's just one more thing. And I think the longer we keep doing this, the more benefits we're going to keep finding and keep discovering, and it's just going to make our message that much stronger.
Absolutely. Well, we are 4 minutes past the hour, so already that went by fast. And so, you know, if anybody needs to jump out immediately, now's your opportunity. Otherwise, we'll just kind of.
Thanks for putting this on, Nia. I got to roll.
Thanks for joining us. I'm
going to head out here.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Rod.
Yeah, likewise. Have a good day,
All right,
everyone.
I'm going to head out here too. Thank you, Nia. Appreciate it. Very good topic tonight, and wonderful comments from our viewers too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks to you both. Okay, and then there were 3. I mean, I figured we could just kind of wrap up. Any final thoughts? Or I didn't see any questions specifically come through. A lot of great comments. Again, a lot of people supporting each other, and yeah, lots of great points going on in the comments. But do you guys have anything else you say?
Well, I just
No.
wanted to say, if you are someone who's watching this and you don't know what to do, you don't know the path forward, you know, give carnivore a try. Seek out some groups. I've been working with the Steak and Butter Gang, trying some different things for me and getting some coaching. So we're all here, and there's so much good free information available online on all these YouTube channels. And before you know, cash in that prescription pad at the pharmacy for a drug that may cost you in the long run, give our way a try first.
Agreed. I definitely think the more we can get this message out there, the more people may stumble upon it, you know, and give it a try before they're stuck on this. Or maybe somebody's on the drug right now and thinks, hey, maybe this can help me get off of it, you know, and so that could also happen, which is totally a possibility. So Ellie says, question, why are you all so awesome? Just a cheeky compliment. So thanks, Ellie.
She's awesome too.
Yes, you're awesome too. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for being here tonight. All my panelist guests and everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. And of course, if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching as well. And leave us your thoughts in a comment if you want to. We'll be back again next Thursday with another episode with a different topic. I'm doing my best. I need to get these polls out earlier in the week because I've been like busy the past couple weeks and I'm like scrambling at the end of the last 2 days before to like get all my stuff done. So I'm going to do better. I'm going to get out a question to you guys earlier. So more of you have time to respond and everything. So anyway, we will see you soon for another episode. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.